Welcome to all of you for this course on Universal Human Values, Lecture 1, Basic Human Aspiration, that is happiness, and Part 2. We have seen in Part 1 of this Lecture 1 that value education is significant as it addresses our basic human aspiration of fulfilling life. Values are those which are significant and they have emerged in man's search for a fulfilling life. Value education has to be universal, otherwise fights for supremacy of one system of values and ethics over the other will lead to destruction, and also they divert us from the objective of our search for fulfilling life. Hence, some guidelines have been proposed for value education. Value education is to be naturally acceptable. They have to be naturally acceptable and universally applicable. Value education shall also cover all dimensions of our being, that is thought, understanding, behavior and work, and also it has to encompass all levels of our being, that is at the level of the individual, family, society and nature and existence. Value education shall also lead to harmony within and also with others. So with this, let us start part 2 of lecture 1. So where we are going to cover briefly about the process of value education, which is self-exploration, the natural acceptance, which is the key for self-exploration, the characteristics of natural acceptance, and the significance of universal human values in the realization of the search for a fulfilled life. So let's start with the process of value education, which is as proposed by UHV. It is self-exploration. So for fulfilling the guidelines of value education, which are discussed in part 1 of this lecture, the process of value education shall be through self-exploration. Okay. So why self-exploration? Because human values can be only understood by an appropriate process of self-discovery. Self-discovery, because values are potentially there in each and every human being. So there is a natural acceptance for values in every human being. So we can discover them or become aware of them through self-exploration. So the process of self-exploration is like this: whatever is stated in the form of value, it is considered as a proposal, and do not assume it to be true or false. Verify it on your own right based on your natural acceptance. We will see natural acceptance is what is acceptable to you naturally. So once you verify on the basis of natural acceptance, it will lead to the right understanding, and with this understanding, the next phase of self-exploration is experiential validation. By living according to, once you considered a particular value as a proposal and verified it on the basis of your natural acceptance, and when it is found to be acceptable naturally, then the next phase of self-exploration is experiential validation, that is living according to the value. Okay. So when we are living according to the value in our behavior with the human beings, it has to lead to mutual happiness. So this is another check in the form of experiential validation. And when we work with the rest of nature with that value, it should lead to mutual prosperity. So this is the process of self-exploration, where everything considered as a proposal, and we do not assume it to be true or false, but we verify it on the basis of our natural acceptance. Once it is verified, once it is acceptable naturally, then with that value we will behave with other human beings, and it will lead to mutual happiness. And when we work with that value with the rest of nature, it will lead to mutual prosperity. Okay. So what do you think? Which process is naturally acceptable? A process of self-exploration, self-verification based on what is naturally acceptable to you, leading to understanding, or a process of do's and don'ts in which you assume what is said without verification. So if you apply what is naturally acceptable to you, that is, if you apply your natural acceptance, you will find that this process of self-exploration is naturally acceptable. Now, what is this natural acceptance? This natural acceptance is the key for self-exploration, and self-exploration is the process of value education. Now, this natural acceptance, for example, to understand about natural acceptance, explore this question: what is naturally acceptable to you? To be happy or to be unhappy? So, the answer you get for this question is quite spontaneous. To be happy is naturally acceptable to me. Okay. So, where does the answer come from? Is it coming from our likes and dislikes? Is it coming from our assumptions, preconditionings, beliefs, world view upon us, perspectives, etc.? Or is it coming from our natural acceptance? So, we find that to be happy is naturally acceptable to us. So, it is coming from our natural acceptance. So, we have to clearly distinguish between our natural acceptance and our acceptance based on our likes and dislikes, assumptions and beliefs, because our likes and dislikes change with time. Our likes and dislikes during our childhood, they might be quite different compared to our likes and dislikes today, and they may also likely to change in future. So, natural acceptance is something different from what the acceptance we make based on our likes and dislikes or based on our assumptions and beliefs. So, natural acceptance has to do something fundamental purpose. It deals with something with fundamental purpose, something related to our basic aspiration, what we naturally aspire for. Our basic aspiration is what we naturally aspire for. This is what is natural acceptance. So, let us explore some more questions. What is naturally acceptable to you? To live in good relationship with others or to live in opposition with others? So, the answer you get based on natural acceptance is to live in good relationship. And what is naturally acceptable to you? Respect or disrespect? So, the answer you get based on natural acceptance, what is naturally acceptable to you is respect. Similarly, what is naturally acceptable to you? Is it respect? Is it trust or distrust? So, the answer you get based on what is naturally acceptable to you is trust. So, if the answer has to come from our natural acceptance, it shall be based on our internal experience in terms of the feeling of comfort, which shall be valid all time and all places and in all situations. So, therefore, natural acceptance is valid all times, all places and in all situations. There is a feeling of comfort when you are accepting it. There is a feeling of comfort within all time, all places and in all situations. So, therefore, let us consider what are the characteristics of natural acceptance, because natural acceptance UHV proposes to be used as a key for the process of value education, which is self-exploration. So these are the six characteristics of natural acceptance. Number one is natural acceptance does not change with time. So what is acceptable to you naturally? For example, to be happy is naturally acceptable in our childhood, today, and even in our future. So it does not change with time. Similarly, natural acceptance does not change with place. Feelings like respect, trust, etc., they have their value at all places, okay, and continents. Natural acceptance also does not change with individual. So from person to person, if you ask questions and answer based on what is naturally acceptable to you, you find that the answers are unique when you pick the answers based on what is naturally acceptable to you. Like the very example, the first question that we have seen, what is naturally acceptable to you, to be happy or to be unhappy? So every individual will answer that question, to be happy is naturally acceptable to me. Okay, whether it is practical or not, that's a different matter. Practically, can we realize happiness all time or not? So that is a different matter, but it is naturally acceptable to us to be happy all the time, and therefore it does not change with the individual. In that way, natural acceptance is universal. And also we find that the fourth significant characteristic of natural acceptance is uncorrupted by our likes and dislikes. Our likes and dislikes may change with time. As I mentioned, our likes and dislikes during our childhood may be entirely different from the likes and dislikes during the adulthood and during the old age of a human being. So when the likes and dislikes may change, but the natural acceptance is uncorrupted by likes and dislikes. It does not change. Another very significant characteristic of natural acceptance, which makes it universal, is that natural acceptance is innate. We need not have to create natural acceptance from somewhere else. It is already inherent within every human being. So natural acceptance is innate, it is inherent, and we need not have to create it. Also, natural acceptance, there is no ambiguity when we decide any question based on what is naturally acceptable. It is definite. So these are the six unique characteristics of natural acceptance which make it qualified to be used as a key in self-exploration, which is the process of value education. So natural acceptance, we find it is an inherent faculty in every human being, which is unique and also universal. Okay, so we may not be able to we may not be conscious of some of the aspects which are naturally acceptable to us, like trust. With respect to trust, opinions may vary. Okay, like somebody is to be trusted or not trusted, opinions may vary, but as far as what is naturally acceptable to us, okay, that is the feeling of comfort, okay, within when you decide on a question. Okay, so that is what it is, definite, and it is innate and inherent. So the significance of universal human values is that they actually provide us a process, a way for fulfilling our life. So whatever we think, whatever we plan, whatever we do, so why we are doing all this, whatever we are struggling, all our efforts are to fulfill our basic human aspirations. We therefore need to know or understand basic human aspirations. So let's explore some questions related to the basic human aspirations. So let's look at this question. Do you want to be happy? Yes or no? Do you want to be prosperous? Yes or no? Do you want the continuity of happiness and prosperity? So all these questions have to be answered based on the feeling of comfort within and applying natural acceptance as the key for self-exploration. So the obvious choices for all these questions are a definite yes. Yes. You want to be happy? Yes. Do you want to be prosperous? Yes. And you want the continuity of happiness and prosperity? A definitely yes. So we have a natural acceptance to be happy all the time, to be prosperous all the time. The basic human aspirations are therefore happiness, prosperity, and their continuity. We may, of course, what is happiness? They may mean different, they may have different meanings for different people. Different people may derive happiness by doing different things. So that also we are going to consider in this particular lecture. So there are different notions of happiness and prosperity. But we do want to be happy and prosperous. So these are considered the basic human aspirations. So there is no moment that we want to be unhappy or we want to be deprived. Okay. So, but if you look at this question, you want to be happy, but are we happy? So, if you check ourselves, we can say that sometimes yes, many times no. Okay. Similarly, are we prosperous? Sometimes yes, but we do not have the clarity about what prosperity means. So, is there continuity of happiness and prosperity in our day-to-day life? So, the answer is many times no. So, we find that there is quite a gap between our basic aspiration and the state of our being, and this gap is also not naturally acceptable to us. So, the significance of universal human values is that the value education and the subject of universal human values, this is what shows us the way to fill the gap between what is naturally acceptable to us and the state of our being. Okay. So this is the significance of value education and universal human values. So universal human values basically address the basic human aspiration of happiness, prosperity, and their continuity. So with this, we are coming to the end of part 2 of the lecture. So let me summarize part 2. So the process of value education, what is the process of value education? It is nothing but self-exploration. And self-exploration consists of verifying any proposal on the basis of natural acceptance. Do not assume anything to be true or false, but refer to your what is naturally acceptable to you. So it is then experientially validated. Validation comes when our behavior with the value leads to mutual happiness, and our work with the value with the rest of the nature leads to mutual prosperity. So values, we have seen in this part of lecture 1, they are inherent in every human being, and there is a natural acceptance for values by everyone. So natural acceptance is inherent and innate. So some of the characteristics, 6 characteristics of natural acceptance we have seen. So their inherent and innate. Natural acceptance is also definite, there is no ambiguity, they are uncorrupted by our likes and dislikes. Natural acceptance does not also change with time, place and individual. Therefore, natural acceptance is universal. When natural acceptance is taken as the key for the process of value education, which is self-exploration, such value education qualifies itself to lead us to universal human values. So there is natural acceptance in all of us to be happy, to be prosperous, and for their continuity. And in reality, we find that human beings are not happy, prosperous on a continual basis. Value education shows the way for to fill this gap between what is naturally acceptable to us, that is to be happy, to be prosperous, and to have continuity of our happiness and prosperity, and the actual state of our being. Okay, so that is the significance of value education. Thank you all for viewing this part 2 of lecture 1. If you like this lecture, click the like button in the YouTube video, and if you have any queries, please put them in the comment section. We will have interaction through the comment section. So we will meet once again in dealing with part 3, which deals with happiness and what is happiness and the key to happiness. Thank you.